4 was the pelvis. Everybody still with me here? 5, we have a minor calyx. We have minor, minor, minor forming a major. Okay, this would be the major. Again, major, and another major there, forming major there, forming the pelvis. 6 would be a papilla. So that's a papilla, that's a papilla, that's a papilla. The tip of that one's a papilla, that's a papilla. Those are all papillas. Okay, 7, pyramids. We have pyramid, 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 pyramid. Good. 8, what you have to do is you have to go from these little balls. So when we get to 8, 9, 10, some of these, the numbers are so big, the structures are so small on this particular part, they're almost useless as far as labels on this particular section. I'll talk about it. We see these little tan balls right here. That would be a Bowman's capsule. Okay. We then have the proximal convoluted tubule going down. Okay. We then have a loop of Henle. We'd have a descending limb and an ascending limb giving rise to a distal convoluted tubule, which looks to be number 9, the DCT. Okay, but it's way up here, so you sort of just have to trace it. Okay, 8, okay, we notice the distal convoluted tubule going into this tube right here, going up and down. That is our collecting duct. So 8 would be a collecting duct, 9 would be a distal convoluted tubule. If we now trace another nephron, we have this tube that's going down. So 10, they want the loop of Henle that sort of loops up and around, okay, of a different nephron. And 11, they probably want either a renal corpuscle or proximal convoluted tubule. Again, 11 is so big, I'm not going to ask what 11 is because it's virtually useless. If I point to all these little tan dots, like bam, 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 you could either say Bowman's capsules or you could say a renal corpuscle. Reason being, a renal corpuscle is a Bowman's capsule and it's contained glomerulus. That is a renal corpuscle. So 12, they want corpuscle or Bowman's capsule for 12. Okay, fine. Okay, 13, what do we have? Okay, 13 is the... Okay, now go back to, somebody have your lecture book with you? Go back to the blood flow thing. And right here is the number 13. Okay, right here is the number 13. Now, where is my finger? Is it out in the cortex or is it in between the pyramids? It's in between the pyramids. And what did we say was the name of the vessel in between the pyramids? Interlobar. Now, what's number 13? Interlobular. Interlobar is not the same as interlobular. Where did we say the interlobulars were? Way out in the cortex. Another name for the interlobular were the cortical radii. Now, please don't cross it out. Why? Because where's the 13 on this particular model? Out here where they're supposed to be. Okay, so on this model, 13 is labeled correctly. It is the cortical radiate, or the interlobular, out here. On this model, 13 is actually referring to an interlobar artery. So it's correct on one, it's mislabeled on the other. So you can't sort of just cross it out, but we need to make note of it. All right? It's correct on this. 13 is interlobular on this. It's interlobar on this model. That's 13. I don't even see a 14. What's it supposed to be? Oh, that's horrible. I'm not going to ask 14. 14 is horrible. 15 is horrible. 16, I can buy 16. Okay, arcuate right here in between the cortex and medulla. That's okay. 17. What do we have on this one? Do we have a 16A on this one? Yeah. 16A on this is vasa recta. Okay, 16A on this model is vasa recta. It's those vessels that go way down in the medulla, paralleling the loops of Henle's of our juxtamedullary nephrons. We don't actually have 16A on this model. It's 15A on this model. Still the vasa recta. Okay, so either 16A or 15A would be the vasa recta. 17 then looks to be a interlobar vein. It's interlobular on this. It's interlobar on this. So 13 and 17, same problem.
Which one is it correct?
It's correct on this. It's the SOMSO kidney model. This is the tri-kidney model. This is just the SOMSO kidney model. Okay? I don't see an 18. Can somebody help me out with or? Oh, yeah, okay. Arcuate veins, again, right there at the junction between cortex and medulla. 19, remember the collecting ducts merge into the papillary ducts. So 19, it's huge, but it's on the tan tube way at the bottom down by the papilla. Papillary ducts empty out at the papilla. Several collecting ducts will merge to form a papillary duct. Okay? Are we okay over here on this particular part? This and this. Okay, let's go to the middle section. And its contained glomerulus. So that's going to be a corpuscle. 2A is then going to be a proximal convoluted tubule. Not on this one. Good question. Roger, we do. I'm not sure about Lucy. The adrenal or suprarenal, same thing. You don't have it on this. So what you have to do then is trace a Bowman's capsule. Okay? So I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one. Over here it's nicely labeled. We can see the Bowman's capsule. We then have the descending limb right here. Okay, over here it's going to go in the opposite direction. So you just have to trace it from the Bowman's capsule. So Bowman's capsule, we then have the PCT. We then have a thick and a thin descending limb. In this particular case, we have a thin and then a thick ascending limb, which then is going to give rise to the distal convoluted tubule going into a collecting duct. Okay, over here we have one a corpuscle, 2A a PCT. It's either 2B or 3B. I'm not sure which it is. It's a thick descending limb. 2B then. Thick descending limb. 3 then is going to be, you want a 3 what, C?
3.
Just 3. It's a thin descending limb. We then have 3C, 4C. It's an ascending limb. It's a thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle. D is then the distal convoluted tubule. Okay. Then 5, it's probably 5D. Okay. What are they wanting for 5D? It's still distal convoluted tubule, that's fine.
There is no 5D.
It's just 5. D was still distal convoluted tubule, right?
4D.
Okay. So 4D and 5 is the same thing.
Yeah.
2 different labels. Cool. 6, collecting duct. I don't see... Oh yeah, 7 would be arcuate artery and vein. 8, look at the label for 8. It's way down there. I hate the label. So if I'm going to ask it, I'm actually going to point to this vessel that goes up and down. That is either the cortical radiate or interlobular. Okay? 9, again, everything leading away from the cortical radiate. So that red one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and then all these over here. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Those are all afferent arterioles heading towards the glomeruli. Away from the glomeruli, and where they put 10, I hate where they put 10 too. So they put 10 way out here. I would actually call these out here the peritubular capillaries. If I'm going to ask for an efferent arteriole, I'm going to ask it right next to where it's coming out of the corpuscle, not a ways away. So I would point to that right there, or that right there, or that, okay, as far as the efferent arterioles. 11, then put peritubular capillaries, pretty please. Sure. This tuft right here is the glomerulus. All this stuff right here. Notice that these tan cells have been removed from this side, and all we see are the capillaries over here. But what do you notice about the surface of the capillaries? See a bunch of little specks? Those little specks are trying to indicate the fenestrations. Okay, so these are the fenestrated capillaries. 2, where the hell is it? Bowman's capsule. It's right out here. This is the Bowman's capsule itself. 3, I would actually call 3 the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay? What are they saying it is? When we had the uterus, or the neck of the uterus was the cervix. So cervical portion, I guess, if it was like this part right here. But looking at the layer of the cells, does this lining in here look smooth? No, what's it look like? What's this lining in here look like? A whole bunch of bumps? What do you think those bumps try to represent? Let me ask another question. This is the glomerulus, right? Have I ever given you the rate of filtration that occurs across the fenestrated capillaries of the glomeruli? Remember that GFR? How many liters of fluid was filtered over the course of a day? 180 liters. How much urine's produced over the course of a day? 1 to 2 liters. What does that mean? Almost all of it. Almost all of it has to be reabsorbed. What do you think could possibly enhance the rate of reabsorption? Surface area. And what increases surface area? Cilia or microvilli? Microvilli. The lumen in here of these cells, the proximal convoluted tubule, have microvilli. We'll also see a little bit later on, they are jam-packed full of mitochondria. What's that mean? They must be undergoing a particular type of activity or particular process. Active transport, exactly right. Very active and active transport. Okay, so these that have the microvilli in there, I like to call the proximal convoluted tubule. Think of this as the Earth. We have a north and south pole. Notice the blood comes in up here, so 5 would be the vascular pole. Filtrate that would eventually give rise to urines coming out down here. So 4 is the urinary pole. Okay? 6 is the larger afferent arteriole. 7 is the smaller efferent arteriole. 8 would be the glomerular capillaries. 9, notice it's on these tan cells right here. These tan cells out here that surround the glomerular capillaries. These tan cells constitute the visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule. These tan cells, however, have a special name. The cells themselves are called podocytes. They constitute the visceral layer. So if I ask, gosh, these tan cells right here, what layer do they constitute? Please tell me visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule. If I say, gosh, these tan cells out here, what are the name of those individual cells? Please tell me podocytes. Does everybody understand the difference between the two? Okay. If this is the visceral layer right here, this outer layer here would then be the parietal layer. Very good. Okay?